intuitively, the more natural we could be, the better. And of course, with COVID, we're washing our hands often. And when I'm at the hospital, I don't want to carry infection from one room to another. But that's just the hands, right? The rest of the body doesn't have to be exposed to all these chemicals all the time,
How do you think our skin is? What is it when we wash soap on our skin every day and take off that microbiome?
Yes, I mean, harsh soaps, and you're killing the microbiome. I suppose that you're not supposed to use harsh chemicals to get rid of the healthy biome on your skin, just like you wouldn't want to do that with your gut.
Because our skin is our second largest organ, because I learned from you, microbiome is our largest organ, right?
Yes,
There's over 1 trillion of these little buggers.
100 trillion gut microbiome.
100 trillion. 100 trillion.
And they carry 100 times more genetics than our own eukaryotic cells. So there's more genetics involved in these little bugs than our own cells.
Wow. Now, how are the antibacterial wipes affecting? Have you seen a change in the gut microbiome because of all the antibacterial wipes that everyone is using these days?
Well, it's hard to say. It's hard to say, to isolate that, just because of the hand washing, our microbiome is not as diverse. But, we're supposed to live somewhat dirty. And what I mean by that is we're supposed to be one with our environment. Of course, the problem is that we have zoonotic diseases such as COVID. We have other bacterial diseases. We have viruses like the flu. And so we're kind of forced into washing our hands all the time because of these pathogenic bacteria that will kill us. So it's a balance, right? I try to live dirty in a way where if I go into the backyard and I pick a fruit off the tree, I won't wash it because I know it's organic. I know it hasn't been sprayed. I would just eat it just like that, like berries or lemons. I don't wash those things. I just eat just like that. Of course, if you're going to the grocery store and you don't know where that produce came from, I think you should wash things. The other thing is when I'm around people and I'm at the hospital, I will wash because it's just, I feel responsible not to carry infections from room to room. But I try to live dirty when I can. It has to be a balance.
That's amazing.
I mean, let's face it, this is not a diatribe against soap, and soap has really helped us stay healthy. But yeah, it's mostly, well, we'll see.
I like the
continue to
approach.
wash my hands, and maybe I'll wash my private parts if Ian complains.
But I think that's a really good meter for whether deciding whether you should wash them or not. So most of our listeners and everyone on the planet knows Dr. Angie, should know Dr. Angie.
Everyone on the planet.
Everyone on the planet. Everyone on the planet.
I love you.
Because I mean, you're by far our favorite gastroenterologist. I mean, that's a little bizarre to probably have a favorite.
She is my gastroenterologist.
She is yours. We have a favorite, maybe manicurist or facialist, but we also have a favorite gastroenterologist. So longtime listeners of the show know that we're somewhat obsessed with gut health, given our former conversation we just had too. So it's a real pleasure to have you on again. And there's so much to cover. I highly recommend everybody go back to episode 3, get the full story of your history, which I just want to touch on. And then we're going to dive into some new research and especially into your newly formed Institute of Plant-Based Medicine, which is wildly exciting because the world has access to it because of telemedicine.
Yes.
So we're going to go into that and the doctors and the dietitians that you brought in and the work that you guys are doing. So thanks for coming in again.
We'd love to talk about that anytime.
Yay. So real quick to remind people, you had been vegetarian for about 9 or 10 years before you went vegan. And in 2014, you had various issues. You had high blood pressure. I know you had eczema severely, and you had high cholesterol, and you were fatigued all the time.
Yes, I didn't have hypertension. I had high cholesterol, eczema. I was obese and I was fatigued. And the eczema was by far the worst of the several conditions we talked about. It's called pustular eczema. So pretty much you look like you have herpes all over your body or cold sores all over your body. These are pustules and they break open and liquid comes out of it. They're super itchy, whereas zoster or herpes or cold sores are not as itchy. They're painful, but they're not itchy. Eczema is particularly very itchy, where you just literally, it affects your quality of life. You can't sleep without taking a bunch of antihistamines to quiet them down. You're constantly walking around scratching your skin. Sometimes I used to scratch so hard it used to bleed. It was terrible. And it was just the most debilitating condition. So I'm an ethical vegan. So I was a vegetarian, not knowing the dairy industry was more cruel to the animals than the meat industry, some people would argue. And maybe it's no coincidence we're friends. It's like,
I like my argument.
I love you for what you're doing. Switch for Good is one of my favorite corporations helping the animals and pretty much destroying the dairy industry, because if you look at the dairy sales, they've gone down precipitously, and I owe a lot of that to Switch for Good and what Dotsie has done and you guys have done. So going back to my story, I had this debilitating eczema, not knowing that dairy was causing it. So because of the animals and learning about the dairy industry, I decided to make the switch and use plant-based milks if I wanted to drink milk, and eat plant-based cheeses if I wanted to have cheese. Literally just overnight, I stopped breastfeeding, as Dotsie would put it.
Oh, you stopped breastfeeding. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay,
is that what you say, Dotsie? Breastfeeding?
Well, it's true, right? I mean,
right.
It's
like,
but it's like, we know it is breastfeeding.
It's like, I'm not going to drink breast milk from a cow. It wasn't meant to be for me. And so I did it for moral reasons. And it was amazing.
Hey, folks. Okay, back by very popular demand is our plant-powered plate fridge magnet, which you are going to receive for free if you leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. So here are the details. Just write your quick review. Does not need to be long, does not need to be a whole story. Just be honest and speak from the heart. Then take a quick screenshot of the review you wrote and email it to us at podcast@switchforgood.org. That's podcast@switchforgood.org. And include your mailing address so we can send you a power plate. We are doing this because the more reviews we garner, the higher we go in search results, which means more folks will learn about our podcast. So the power is in your hands. Leave us a review, and zoom, your power plate arrives at your doorstep.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. If we helped you in any way, then click the subscribe button and let's keep hanging out together. We have so much more to share with you.
And if you need more information on actually making the switch for good, please visit us at switchforgood.org for loads of info. And you can subscribe to our mailing list where you will receive all sorts of super cool gifts, discount codes to our very fave dairy-free products, and a lifetime of powerful health tips.
So join us on the journey to Switch for Good. This is the future.